where I got my associate's degree. Shortly after that, I was working at a bank in Searcy and just didn't know really if that's what I wanted to do with my life. I started looking into the service and I joined the Marine Corps. It wasn't a personal preference as far as I thought the Marine Corps was the best.
Could you speak up just a little bit?
Oh, yes, sir, sorry.
I'm sorry, I left my hearing aids at home.
No problem. But I thought that I wanted to be out there doing something to make a difference, and to me, the Marine Corps is where it was at. My first 4 years I spent in the infantry. I served in Iraq and then Afghanistan. In my last tour in Afghanistan, I was injured during a rocket attack. Messed up my leg, dislocated my leg, pulled the muscle away from my lower spine. Messed me up pretty good. It took me about 7 months before I was able to walk without aid. At that point, the military told me you can either get out or you can choose a different job because you can't be infantry anymore. At that point, I decided, well, what's out there, what's available, and talked to my service members, and they're like, intelligence is where it's at. If you want a good job, you get out. I joined the intelligence field where I served as a geospatial analyst for 6 years. During that time, I had the pleasure of serving over in Japan as well as in North Carolina at Camp Lejeune. During that time, I also attained the rank of gunnery sergeant, where I was in charge of a company, intelligence operations company. We had 200 Marines I was in charge of on a daily basis. I was tasking them with what they were doing that day, what all we needed outside the company, what mission we needed to serve. I was also in charge of about $3 million worth of equipment and hard drives that were all classified, and I had an annual budget of $5 million that I was in charge of making sure that each section had their allotment, what they needed to do with it, and how they needed to spend it. Also making sure that it was taken care of at the end of the year, because as you know, in the military, if you don't spend it all, then clearly you don't need it next year. But it really showed me how to work within a budget and how to make sure that each section has exactly what they need without taking something from somebody else. When I was medically retired in 2016, after they attempted to fix some of the damage that was done to me during the attack, the military has a rule that you cannot have 3 surgeries for the same thing. After 2 BOP surgeries, they said, that's it, and I was medically retired. When we retired, we decided to move to Montana because we had driven through it several times, changing bases, and we thought it was beautiful. Here's a hint, if you don't like snow 9 months out of the year, Montana might not be the place for you. It was gorgeous, and I thought I loved snow. I don't like snow that much. Snow was fun for about 2 days, after that it gets old. About that time, my wife and I found out that we were expecting, and as much as we loved it there, it wasn't really a great place to raise a child as far as we were concerned, because we didn't have any family in the area, and the hospital was about 90 minutes away, so if something happened, we were concerned. We started looking either at Washington State, where she was from, or here where I'm from. Thankfully, I won her over, talking about how amazing this place is. She rolls her eyes a little bit, but she loves it here. And I thought no place else than this is where I grew up, this is where I want to raise my family. So we started looking at houses. The housing market being what it wasn't until after my daughter was born that we actually found a place and were able to move down here. And I thought, okay, this is it, we're here, we should enjoy being retired and, living here. Thought being retired at 35 was going to be awesome. It's not, it's really boring. And so after about a month of being here, being retired, my wife's like, you should probably find a job. I'm like, you know what, I think you're right. I called up my good friend Brian Presley, who I've known for going on 20 years now. I'm like, Brian, are there any openings in the dispatch center? I feel like that's something I could do that can kind of help and give back to the community a little bit, that help make me who I am. And he's just like, yeah, sure, come on by, fill out an application. Filled out an application. A couple days later, I was working in dispatch, where I worked for a little over 2 years. When I was approached about the position of running for county judge, I'm like, whoa, that's a pretty big step. I'm going to need to think about it. I went home, I spoke to my wife, I prayed about it, if this is really what God wanted me to do, and I feel that this is an extension of me wanting to help serve the community that gave so much to me and helped make me who I am. And so I decided, like, yes, I think I would like to run. I'd like to see what I can do to help keep this county as being as great as it is. I think Robert's done an amazing job. I want to make sure that that keeps happening. I want our county to stay out of debt. I want to keep our programs going. I want to keep our roads going. While I was in the military, I was able to get my bachelor's degree in environmental science with a focus in community and city planning. What that does for me is it helps me understand how roads function, specifically how best to organized roads and order of importance for commerce, for individuals, for trafficking. I'm working on my master's. I've got 4 classes left before I get my master's in geospatial science, which is furthering that understanding of roads and infrastructure. And I just want to thank everybody for giving me the opportunity to speak to y'all tonight. And does anybody have any questions for me? Having none, you see the floor.
Are we taking questions now, Charlie?
Well, let's just hold off on that. He's only taken 5 minutes and 28 seconds. And there's nothing wrong with that. Okay? It's a real improvement over Robert Griffin. I love Robert, don't get me wrong. Okay, you're up.
Well, my name's Brian Anderson. Most of y'all know me because I worked at the highway department for 30+ years here in Batesville, Arkansas. I graduated from Cushman in 1984. Went to the military after that, in the Navy. Not as prestigious as the Marines, but we gotta get y'all there. Anyway, I was on the USS Nimitz aircraft carrier. I was an aircraft mechanic, and I was on the cruise that brought it from North Fork to Washington State, to Bremerton. That's where it's at now. Got out of the military, went to truck driving school at, I forget what it was even called, Gateway Votech then, I think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Went to truck driving school there for free through the military, got my CDL in March 1st of 1990, and went to work at the highway department. I started as a truck driver, went from truck driving to the storeroom procurement, which I was in charge of one of 3 buying stuff for the whole district, which is contains 8 counties. And after that, I moved on to maintenance. Then I moved on to engineering, which I've been to engineering classes at University of Arkansas for transportation, for training professionals about roads. I've been over multi-million-dollar road projects, bridge projects. Harrison Street, one of them, from South Side to Swims Chapel Hill. I built the first earthquake bridge there was in Tuckerman, Arkansas. Then I moved from engineering over back to maintenance as a crew leader. And then 8 years ago, I became the foreman over the whole Independence County. I have over 500 lane miles of roads and bridges to maintain with a budget. Our budget's a little different. They're going to get paid. State will pay you. As far as that goes, I had 20 people working for me. Had I don't know, millions of dollars worth of equipment. Let me back up 1 minute. I am also the chairman of the board of the co-op, North Arkansas Farm Supply, which is a multi-million-dollar agri business in this county, if y'all didn't know. We haven't lost money there since I've been on the board, over 20 years. We've gave back a patronage to our customers every year, which that's giving money back to people who's joined. But the more you spend, the more you get back. But anyway, the last 8 years, I've been over to Independence County. I've worked well with the county road department. Never had a problem with Robert or Ron or Rick. We all seem to get along good. I helped them with their spray program, and we call these machines called salty dogs, if y'all don't know what they are, which is a little machine goes on the back of a pickup. We talk them into getting some. So I think they burned that pretty good. They work well. Then I retired March 31st of this year. Said, it's time. Woke in one morning and I said, it's time. And 3 or 4 years ago, I talked to Robert. I said, I might run for judge one of these days. And I said, as long as he was running, I wouldn't run. And I kept my word. And let's see. Now, raise cattle. I raise show cattle. I bought a house at Deshay. I worked for Mr. Royce Wilson y'all don't know Mr. Royce Wilson, he owns a drugstore at the top of the hill, south side, and his son Lee, I take care of his farm, cattle, Dollar Generals, Harp stores, whatever I gotta go do, I do it for him. He trusts me with everything he has, and I appreciate that. I've always been here in this, like I say, in this county, working. I've always had a good relationship with the county and the city, all the little cities, all the little towns in my district, in Independence County. I think I can do, well, I know I can do the job. I have great experience in more things than others, but what I don't know, I can learn. There's not ever been a county judge voted in this county that walked in the door and knew everything was going on. Not no one. I don't care who you was. Now, in saying that, I'm gonna say this. I'm probably only one of the only county judges ever walked in the door who knew about road experience, who knew about building roads, who knew about spray programs, who knew about salt and snow removal programs, and grant programs through the state. I do say that. And that's my strong point. I have proven that in time, been in the highway department. I appreciate y'all's vote. If I don't ever get to see either one of y'all, thank you for coming. Thank you, Robert, for coming. Everybody. If you have any questions for me, you can ask her. And just,
Well, I'll stop. Just a little over 6 minutes, you're both concise. Okay, here's what I wanna do next. Since I let you speak first, I wanna give you the choice. Would you rather ask or answer a question?
I'll answer.
Okay, then you're gonna ask the first question.
I'm gonna go back and sit back
To him. Now, you guys can sit down if you want. You don't have to. For this whole-
They can all see how pretty we are. Ain't no big deal to me.
First off, I'd like to thank you for your service.
Thank you, you too.
First
Most people
question,
didn't know what it told me.
Robert, I hope you don't take offense to this question.
Uh-oh.
What do you think that Judge Griffin has failed to do during his tenure as county judge, and what do you think you would do to rectify it?
The only thing that has been happening since Robert has been the judge, and it's not all his fault, is that's getting along with baseball. They had the money that was supposed to be in the counties, and, he got it back. And, to rectify the program and that problem, I say you need to stay on top of the program, give them theirs, of any of the little counties, they all get a little bit of money through the state highway department, through the gas tax, which was increased last year, or this year, or last year. The funds went up, but they all get money. You need to be in good with every little town, every little community. They all help. They all provide. Just like I talked to fire departments, you know, their tax and everything. That's like I told them. I said, I don't want y'all coming to my house to put out a fire with a team in a 5-gallon bucket. I want y'all to have the best stuff that there is. You're saving somebody's livelihood, their house. So, in respect to keeping good relationships with all cities, including Batesville, and like I say, Robert's done an excellent job of getting the money back that belonged to the county.
Okay, you done? Okay, now your turn to ask him a question.
If state aid program, how would you determine what road needs to be resurfaced, whether asphalt, chip seal, or whatever? How would you rate that?
Can I clarify the question?
Sure.
Are you talking about which roads would I consider to be the most
Yeah,
needy? Like,
yeah.
okay, out of all the roads, this road needs the most?
Yes. How would you classify that?
Are you asking how I make the decision which road I would decide to
Yes,
take care of
yes,
first?
yes.
I would speak with Ron, the head of the road department, since he's the one out there working on the roads every day, and they've got a first-hand experience, they're on boots on the ground. I would then go check out the roads that were suggested and determine which ones out of those would be the most need as far as which roads allow county travel, which roads have the most houses and people living on them, and which houses, or which roads were most necessary to commerce in the area.
Okay. Your turn. You guys are really staying under.
I think Charlie's clock messed up.
Yeah.
No, you guys are doing good.
That was
Good.
Galaxy or not, I'll tell them there, Charlie.
It's an iPhone.
There you go.
Okay.
What changes, if any, would you consider making to the current interlocal agreements that we have with the cities within the county, specifically when it comes to solid waste?
Solid waste, I probably wouldn't change a thing. Robert's got it going pretty good. I seen him the other day and told him the best thing that they done in the county was get the trash cans. Now, the recycling, that's a up and down process, which somebody might want more plastic or more cardboard, or the recycling is not always the money. But the solid waste, we charge, the county charges Southside, they charge Pleasant Plains. Pleasant Plains was using someone else, but they found out that Independence County was cheaper, so they went with us, Independence County. As far as the solid waste, I don't see no more, any major changes. I'll do, the one thing that I did see of myself when I was the supervisor is the juveniles picking up trash, and that's great, to keep the county clean. You know, that has a little bit to do with the solid waste and the time, but I think that's a good thing to keep the county clean. As far as trash, because you know, some people don't like trash. I've got calls over trash myself. You know, how come there's trash in my yard? Well, ma'am, I don't know. I mean, I didn't know there. And that gentleman that picks up trash on his own, I can't think of his name, he drives a green Dodge truck. We've had to get on to him a time or two, but he still picks it up on the side roads and some highways. But as far as any major changes, I wouldn't see anything. The equipment's up to date. Robert's got new trucks. Got rid of the liability of having somebody, a jail inmate, having to ride on the back of the truck. I always thought to myself, some one of them jail inmates is gonna fall off, and the county's gonna be paying them for the rest of his life. And that, I told Robert the best thing he's done was the trash cans.
You done? Okay, let's see. He asked, you're ready to ask him a question, okay?
In all the areas that we have, the county agencies, jail, sheriff department, county clerk, assessor, how are you going to, let them run their organization? Are you gonna be, I know you're the one, the judge maintains the budget. Are you gonna let them control their area, or are you going to kind of tell them, or bird dog them? I don't know, if I'm a bird dog, I would say, but you know what I mean. Micromanage is what I'm trying to look at. Are you gonna micromanage the sheriff's department, the jail, the?
1 minute.
Okay.
Have you got your question?
Yeah, I think I got it.
I am a firm opponent of micromanaging. I think if you do not have the right people in the positions to lead your subsections, then you chose wrong when you hired them. If all the agencies or all the different sections within the county are running smoothly, then there's no need to micromanage them. That's where you have these people to do their jobs, you allow them to do it. I don't see the job of the county judge being to manage every entity that falls under the county. I think his job is to get the right people in those positions and make sure they have the funding and the people and the equipment that they need to do their jobs.
You wanna ask him, and if you guys are done asking questions, we'll bring them from the audience.
Let the audience come in
If
here.
you guys wanna keep going, I'll let you go as long as you
I'm
want.
fine.
Okay, you wanna ask a question, go.
How do you plan to address the inability of the county and the recycling center to no longer be able to take monitors for telephone sets?
Well, I didn't know that they didn't do that. That's, you know, as far as recycling program, I didn't know that, cause I would take that as a, instead of being outside, you know. I know there is companies that do come and take computers and televisions with electronics, they, I think there's one in Little Rock, I'm not positive on that, who picks up stuff like that and, takes the wires and the components out of the stuff that's dangerous, like batteries, you know, in the computers, hard drives, and stuff like that. That would be something to go over with the solid waste committee, JPs, and look at an answer, and look at the solution. But I figured if there's something that could be done, and can be done. There's nothing in this world that can't be done with a little thinking and a little prayer and a little hard work.
Okay. Let's see, it's your turn to ask him a question.
Ready again?
Yeah. It keeps doing that.
I know it, I know it.
You know, I was determined I was not gonna be the kind of moderator that asked questions to prejudice against one candidate or the other, the way we've seen all the presidential debates.
Oh, yeah, they were one-sided.
Yeah. Okay, you're gonna ask?
Yeah, are you ready?
Yeah.
On the road department, do you think the leasing program is the way to go, or the buying program the way to go? On the equipment and trucks?
I think currently, with the prices they are, I think we need to continue to lease the majority of the equipment, but I think we should start purchasing, say, if we're talking about, backhoes, are you talking about specific equipment, or just all equipment in general?
Everything.
We'll talk about road grids. Right now, we lease 4. I think starting next year, or when either one of us is elected, or whoever becomes elected, we should start budgeting for buying 1 piece of equipment a year and leasing 3. And then every 3 years, adding another piece of equipment. That way, we're balancing overall upfront cost with extended cost. And I think that we extended for all the equipment that we know that we need in the years. But I don't think going all one way or the other is the right decision to go.
Okay, your turn to ask him a question.
So, I do see that you have a great knowledge of roads. What experience do you think you have that would allow you to manage the other 80% of the county budget?
Well, let's see. I managed the budget at the highway department when I was in procurement, that's what we call it, procurement, buying stuff. I am the chairman of a co-op, a multi-million-dollar organization, which we have a budget, that I am chairman of the board and have been for 10 years or longer. And when I was a supervisor at the highway department over my 8 years, I had a budget there too. And equipment and people, and I had to answer to a lot more higher people than the county judge does. I promise you. From the director to the governor, when it comes down to it, if we spent money. And there was times that snow and ice, they didn't care. You know, get it off the road, that's the main thing, you know. My old boss always says, "But Brian, can you leave the buttons on the road, the little yellow buttons on the highway?" I said, "Well, you can either have yellow buttons, or you can have the snow gone. Which one do you want? You can't have both." You know, so, that's my background in money and budgeting. And just like I said, you gotta work with the other agencies. Health department, the sheriff, the jail, the assessor, the clerk, the waste, the road. You all have to work together. Like I said before, there's not one person who's come in here who knows everything about budgeting or nothing. that's where a good, strong work group of elected officials, because the Texas assessor, the clerk, they're all elected officials. So these people out here, me and you, elect those. So if they're not the chosen one that the people elected, like you say, you might have to stand over them. But if they're elected and know what they're doing, I've heard so many good comments about Mr. Treadway being the treasurer all the time, you know. Fine man, you know. So if you got the people behind you, the Lord behind you, you can go.
You know, you guys are doing good, I think. I think what I'd like to do, let's see. I think I'd like to open it up at this time to the audience to see if they've got any questions. I want to thank you for both your questions and your answers. I think you both did a good job. Let's give them a round of applause. Okay, now, if any of you have a question for either one of these, tell them, or if it's for both of them. If you'd like both of them, you know, one at a time, obviously, to answer. Okay, you have a question, Ben?
First, thank you guys for your service. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're new to this county and excited to be a part of this. You know, so we've been here for about a year and a half, and I've been part of this committee for a little while, but probably about that long as well. If I'm correct, and please correct me if I'm wrong, some of the funds you guys are in charge of have to do with like rural internet and all the grants that are coming for that. Is that correct? Because I know like rural internet and getting grants for that.
The broadband?
Yes.
Okay, so, yeah, because I know there's a big thing that was passed about 4 years ago, had some friends in the industry. I think it was, last week, Faulkner County, county judge just got another $15 million for them to get out to their communities. What do you know of what we've put in place so far? Because our work from home force has increased 380% this past year, and there's still a lot of our community that doesn't have broadband internet. What do you guys plan to do about that? Is that important to you? And what experience do you have in procuring funds that are available through governments, through states?
Who to first?
Both. I'll go, who answered last? No? Okay, we'll go with Mr. Benjamin there.
I don't want to step on Robert's toes, but I know he has already been doing a lot of work with the rural broadband grants. I know he has letters from several ISPs for different areas of the county. I was at the Newark City Council meeting last month. They were talking about how they're having broadband brought in. It's a matter of, everybody knows that Suddenlink's not, you know.
Everybody knows.
We're just leave it at that.
Shall we call that the understatement of the night?
Yeah. But I know there's a lot of work still to be done, but I know the White River Planning and Development Committee, that's their job is to find grants for the county to use, for road development, for EPA stuff, for rural broadband and such. That's where we pay them $3,500 a year. And I know that he is doing work wherever he has left off. I plan on picking up and actually, because in 2022, at that point, in 2023, it is ridiculous that there is not high-speed internet access for every single person in the county, in the state, and in the U.S. for that matter. It gets a problem that the ISPs get lazy and they're like, well, you're already paying us, so why should we do the work? I think by bringing in more competition and allowing the ISPs to basically fight with Suddenlink for customers, then that they're either going to A, cause Suddenlink to actually up their game and start providing service that everybody pays for, or B, allow one of their competitors who offer better services to take over.
That being said, there, the grants and stuff that Robert has been working on, the governor has passed bills, you know, about the broadband, and, being at the highway, I see them, they're, Claus-Meyer's putting in a new fiber optic now. They ran one last year from, Batesville to Bethesda, Claus-Meyer did, for, internet. I think that was Yelcott. There's Yelcott, CenturyTel, AT&T, I don't remember, there's one more, but they're all trying to come to this area. I know, like I say, they're running lines constantly because they have to get permits. And as, like Ben said, we pay the development, and we have grant writers, or you can get a grant writer and look, listen, talk to the government in Little Rock. There's help out there, there's grants every day. I mean, if a county can get a grant for a job to put a sidewalk in a little town where 5 people, you know, surely we can get fiber optic to Port Arkansas or Charlotte. And that goes the same way with cell phone service. I'm behind that too. You know, there's dead spots. And when I worked at the highway department, I had AT&T and Verizon both. And Walnut Grove out there, I'm sure Mr. Ben will know about it, that little bridge right there, I don't care what service you got, you're not gonna talk to nobody. You're dead in the water. And it shouldn't be that way. You know, you got towers here, towers there, and I always thought had to be on the highest peak. That's not right on a cell phone tower. A cell phone tower has to ping off one another. That's why the one in Norfolk Town pings off the one at Danny Greenfield's. If you'll get up on top, it'll be a straight line with that. It ain't to be on the highest point. I always thought, but that's not right.
Charlie, in public interest, can I answer a question now?
Sure, go ahead.
I've already signed on 30 or 40 million worth of high-speed broadband coming. The northern part of the county, Cushman's involved, Bethesda, Locust Grove, there's maps all over. The single biggest deficit is actually in the Suddenlink area because according to ADC, there's already existing high-speed broadband there, but we're talking about 100 service for $50 a month. Suddenlink probably $150 for that same service. So it is working, it is coming, and I certainly hope whatever Canada replaces me does continue, but there's a
Yeah,
lot.
my point is more about the priority of it, you know, as far as to make sure that our workforce is increasing as a work from home.
Correct. I'm telling you, fiber to home is in play right now.
Yeah.
Contract's been signed, CARES money and the American Recovery Act money is committed, so it is coming to a lot of areas.
Any other questions?
I got one.
Okay.
The county has purchased recycling trailers. Those recycling trailers are a mess. You got a couple that still got the slanted hood, that's over, and the flip up plastic lid. They work great. You got a couple around here that you got to pin up, put the trash in, and if the pin's not set, whoever's got that in on their property, trash will replace. What are your possibilities of replacing these with something that is decent? The old days, the Shade School's got a good one. There's a couple others, but we had one at Masonic Lodge was garbage. We told them to pull it, because we were constantly going out there and picking up trash every day, basically.
Okay, who's that question to?
Either one of them.
Well,
I'll go first. The trailers, I know what you're talking about, they get dropped off at various locations. And a lot of that problem is people don't care. That's your number one problem. They'll throw the lid back, throw their trash in, more than recycle, I can promise you, because I've seen it in there. Household trash, food and trash, and they don't care. Now, you can build a trailer that will hold up and stand up, but eventually, people don't care. That's the truth. And you can give them the best they got, and they'll still want more. So I would suggest getting the best that what's available, which I think what we got is pretty good, but have a maintenance program for them trailers. You know, have somebody go around and check them every once in a while. I mean, I know when they hook up to them, that guy's probably in a hurry. I gotta get this back, go get another one and get back out here. And he probably ain't got time to check and see if all the pins are in or, all the plastics on top. You know, Tracy Wallace, him and Bill can't think of the guy's name, Bill out there at the tire center, the tire place. They inspect their trailers when they go take load, drop them off for tires. They inspect them, make sure they're all up to good every time. I mean, one person could go around and check that, or the driver's picking them up to check that.
Okay, you done? You got an answer?
Yes, I agree with a lot of what Mr. Anderson said. Part of the issue though is the county has a finite budget. We can't create more money. And I have no plan on raising taxes, property sales or otherwise, so you're looking at, okay, if you want to increase recycling, you know, we could look at increasing the cost of trash, but that, again, that's putting more pressure on the individuals who live in the county to pay for something. So we would look at either reducing the number of trailers in order to provide personnel to inspect them and go around and make sure that people aren't throwing the trash in there and they're staying up to date, or we could try and increase the quality of the trailers and make it more difficult for people to just dump trash in there, but it's probably going to be one or the other. It's just a matter of, again, we have a limited number of funds, and we can't create money, we're not Democrats.
Well, now wait a minute, Biden says it's gonna come to zero. You know, I'm a big advocate of recycling. Have been for, you know, our school had paper drives when I lived in Little Kentucky. So, you know, recycling is great, and of course, right now, recycling prices are nothing. And, what most people don't realize is if you've got an old computer, something like that, you got a lot of gold, silver, and everything else, but you gotta learn how to sweat it all down. So, you know, there is, I think you're right, North Little Rock has got a place for computers, but that's something that y'all gonna have to really fight with, is that, is the, cardboard and stuff, plastics.
I believe Best Buy in Little Rock is still accepting monitors and TVs as far as recycling goes. We wouldn't see any of the money, of course, either from getting the
Yeah.
monies, but it would be less trash, and I believe, Robert, correct me if I'm wrong, they're considering it hazardous waste now? Is that what the issue is?
Yeah.
They're considering hazardous waste and monitors.
Okay, do we have another question? One back here.
Well, when we see televisions and computers in town here that are set out, and then in a couple of days, they're usually picked up, where do they go?
You go ahead, Vic.
Ma'am, I know there are a lot of junk collectors and individuals in the county that will pick up most things that they find on the side of the road to sell for money. As of right now, again, Robert, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're still picking up monitors and televisions, but it's going to be a problem long term when we're not able to take those to the recycling center or the waste compound anymore.
That's my answer to it. People pick, you can put anything on the side of the road, somebody's gonna pick it up.
Well, like I said,
If it's got copper in it, or wire in it, the people's gonna pick it up.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes.
Ben, you asked, Brian about his opinion about the interlocal agreements. How do you stand on the interlocal
I
agreement?
think my philosophy is that if it ain't broke, don't mess with it. I think the interlocal agreements are a great thing. They benefit the county and the cities within the county together. It wouldn't make sense, in my opinion, to do anything to them because the city's benefit is not having to provide their own infrastructure for trash pickup. The county benefits from the funds that we get back from the cities, and it just works for everybody.
Any other questions? Was there a question over? Yes.
Derek got a question? Oh, Lord. No, I don't take care of your trash.
No. Someone comes to you, it's a landowner in the county, and is landlocked. Do you know the process to go through to get access to their property?
Or they bought a piece of property that currently there's no easement
Yeah,
to.
it's landlocked. Do you know the process in Arkansas to get access for someone to their property?
I do not personally know that, sir, but I'm sure I can check with the county attorney, who would probably be able to answer that. If not, that's something that I could check online, and I'm sure check with the state representative's office. I know the governor's office, they're able to answer a lot of questions that people have. I've personally called the governor's office before, asking them a question about an easement on my own property. And they were able to direct me to the literature that I need to look up to find that.
The first thing is, you try to work out with the landowner to get an easement. And if that's not feasible, and you can't work it out, and that's when you both get lawyers. That's what it boils down to at the end.
Robert probably knows the process, but
Because I know of instance that's going on right now, that they tried to do that, and they didn't, and it was going to turn out bad, but it didn't. But in the end, that's right, like Mr. Ben says, is the Attorney General, Representative, County Lawyer, your lawyer.
it actually comes down to county judge.
The county judge can,
They'll petition the court,
and he can condemn it.
he has to get 3 people, Robert probably knows, I mean, it will be in the county court. I mean, it's actually handled in the county court. It doesn't, Attorney General's not gonna be involved, Governor won't be involved, that should be something that you would actually handle. Somebody's gonna be mad at you, I can
That
assure
comes
you.
down to the condemning process. That's why 106 out here from West Side out that way is because the county judge will have to condemn that property to make it white. And nobody wants to make that group of people mad.
They're saying that, yeah, that's what you're running, you're gonna have to make a decision, somebody's gonna be upset. Inside the way. The other question you mentioned a couple times about commerce, timber haulers, people cutting timber in Independence County, hauling them down the roads. How would you handle that? What's your ideas on people cutting timber? Is that considered commerce? Does it fall in the same category as chicken haulers or?
Are you referring to damage they would do to the roads?
Yes, damage, just working. I'm in the timber business, by the way, so, and we use tractor trailer rigs. And Robert and I have worked several times over the years. There are good operators and there are bad operators, I think you will agree with us. But as our county grows, and it's not just here, it's White County, all the counties around us, there's people building houses everywhere, especially the last 6-8 months of the year. Every road's got houses now, and they're going into thousands of acres of timberland, and we come in with trucks to start cutting timber, and everybody blows up. So, and I deal with county judges all over Arkansas, and it's a problem. It's only gonna get worse. Just want to see what you had any ideas, that something that you could think of that might make things a little better.
I would
Are
feel
they
that under growing
cutting on
pains.
private land,
Yes, ma'am.
just going
Let
on
me
some?
set it up a little bit better, just as an example of what we would go through. Let's say we're cutting her timber. She has 500 acres back here on this road that they just chip and sealed last year, because at the front of that road, there's a couple of houses. But at the end of that road, she has her 500 acres of timber. Well, she's wanting her timber cut. We go in to cut her timber. When you're traveling up that road, it's gonna do damage. Who has the priority there? Those people that just come in and have an acre or 2 at the front of that road, and they wanted it chip and sealed because they didn't want it dust, in their yards, or her with her 500 acres that she wanted her timber cut. Where's the priority there? That's a legit thing that happens all the time that we have to deal with.
The people that live on that road are permanent. Y'all cutting the timber is temporary. I would say if damage is done to the road by the trucks, then it would be compensation for the damage done.
Yeah, but we have as much right to travel that road as they do.
Yes.
Right, she's permanent. She owns that
Right.
500 acres, and that's her timber.
Right, I'm not saying that y'all won't have the right to use the road, of course. And again, I'm sure you're talking about neighbors complaining about the noise and the travel and stuff, and that's why I say I would kind of consider that fall under growing pains. People need, understandably, yeah, sometimes for lack of a better term, it sucks. When you have, in Montana, my wife can attest this, we live next to a mine. And so any time of the day, we'd be sitting around and boom. We didn't realize when we bought the place that was a mine next to us. It wasn't a listing, you can imagine that. But it's something that, we learned to just deal with. And especially being temporary, like you aren't gonna be there for 20 years cutting timber, you know, depending on how much land she has and how much timber, that it's something that is going to take place, and that while it is a mild inconvenience to them, the trucks going up and down the road and the noise, it's for the benefit of the county in general and for everybody that lives here to increase both the commerce and the funds going into the county. 'Cause I'm sure if your vehicles are filling up with fuel inside the county, if you're employing people to help cut it down, I'm sure some of that at least is local labor. So that's all contributing back to the county. So I think if it comes to like who has priority, I wouldn't necessarily say one person has priority over the other, but it's a matter of everybody needs to work together. And again, if the road is being damaged solely because it was chip sealed last year and that your trucks are heavy, especially loaded full of wood, and it's doing damage, then I think if we look at possibly a temporary solution with the county road, I'll talk to Ron and see what we can do to try to shore up the damage for now, and then possibly when all the work is done and all the trees have been removed, doing possibly another chip seal or something that would do to stabilize the road more.
Well, it kinda goes back to what he said, everybody, you're spending the dollar, and your guy's spending the dollar, and your guy's spending the dollar keeps circling, if you're working here. You hire 8 people within this county, all the money stays here, most of the time. Your guys, they're gonna stop at D-Shay or Ford and get a hamburger or snack, they'll stay here. As far as the road, everybody's equal. The lady asked me the other day, she lives on a dead-end road by herself. Robert knows who I'm talking about, I guarantee you. And she says, how important is my road? I'm the only one who lives on that road. I said, ma'am, do you pay taxes? She said, yes, I do. I said, you're just as important as the person who lives over here. But your road's not gonna be prioritized being one person. Your road is gonna be prioritized, it will get fixed. Emergencies or whatever, it will get fixed. But the county road with 500 houses down it is gonna get treated first. That's just like going back to building a road. You don't build a road in the winter, and when you build a road, you build it from the ground up. You don't go in there and throw dirt on top of it, throw a little bit of class 7 on top of it and chip seal. You built it for permanent, long-term use. Because who knows, in 5 years, that lady might want to put 20 chicken houses down that road. Why not do it right the first time? And not have to go back and re-let the cat. Spend more money again. Build it right the first time.
Okay, is there any other questions? This,
Is this the right forum to discuss city roads, or is this more county roads?
this is not the right forum, is the answer I'm getting, and I think that's right. Could I ask a question? Okay, and I want this to both of you, and I'm gonna ask you first, okay? What could you do as county judge to help relieve the tax burden of the county on me?
On you?
Yeah, or the taxpayers.
Taxpayer?
Yeah, I'm not talking just to me, but all the taxpayers.
Well, I could see, it's probably never been done, but if the county kept operating in the black and had excess money, excess grants, excess turnovers, taxes can be cut. Trash rates can go down. Now, it's not something you'd probably want to do because you'd never get it back up. But things like that can happen. And spending your dollars in this county, you know, turns the dollar. Turns the dollar. You gotta have people turning the dollar. You can't have, like, the people who come in here for the races or the whatever, that's great. That's great publicity and tourism. And they're coming in here turning the dollar. But when they're gone, that dollar stops. So, the only thing I can say is not have too much stuff. Would be one thing.
I would say, I don't know if I'll be able to reduce your burden, but what I can do is keep it from getting worse. Like I said, I have no plan on increasing tax of any type, and something I'd like to see done is increase revenue that the county earns. And I know, right now, we get taxes, we get fines, but I'd like to see the county actually earning more money, such as the rental property that Robert just signed the lease with out there in Southside. We have other rental properties in the county that I think if we put some effort into getting those more curb appeal, then we can draw more businesses in, which increase revenue. I also see that we have unused areas in the county, such as like on the bottom deck of the courthouse, there's several large rooms that I think would be great server rooms that we could lease out. Anything that we can do to increase revenue that the county generates on its own would relieve the debt on the taxpayers. And that's what I'd like to see is the county trying to earn money versus just trying to collect money.
Anybody else have any?
One more.
Okay.
One more. What are y'all gonna do about the cotton picking thing coming down the mountain? That is gonna take a lot of work, it's gonna take a lot of money, and if it's not done right, well, then Wetwater Springs, that road is gonna come off the mountain. And I've already been on one person, I've been on him hard and heavy, and I told him you're gonna make some people mad. They need to bypass. Because, yeah, because if they don't, same thing, White River or the White River Bridge could happen here like it did in Memphis. When it does, a lot of the traffic's gonna go south, Searcy, because it's gonna be cheaper and faster for us to go to Searcy, live across the bridge, than it is to drive all the way around.
Do you all understand the question?
You're referring to the emergency
Uh-huh.
down Ramsey?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
It's the emergency road that they propose coming down Ramsey Mountain. If the mountain gets blocked, they're proposing an emergency road coming down Ramsey Mountain,
Okay.
which will cut in front of the, basically Ramsey Mountain Road.
In the past 3 years, I've worked in dispatch, 6 times Ramsey Mountain's been shut down, the longest being a chemical spill back in 2019, Robert? 2019, we had a chemical truck turnover, it was shut down for 8 hours. The amount of 911 calls and dispatch calls we got was mind-blowing. What's happened? When's the road gonna open back up? It's because of this, and we've had several chicken trucks turn over, and we've had wrecks, we've had semis turn over. Robert's proposed the emergency route going down Ramsey. That was, I believe, was donated, it was purchased and donated to the county, am I correct? No?
No.
No? Okay. It was purchased, I know it was joint between the city, the county, and the state.
They all paid money.
All paid money for it. And it's a joint venture between the 3 entities to build a emergency route that in case something happens in the curve, because it's always in the curve, and it's shut down, then we can open that up and allow traffic to continue up and down normally versus having, said, the road blocked for however long it takes to get that fixed.
So long as it's been shut down, it's 2 days when the propane tank turned over.
You're absolutely right. And the road has never been shut down since that day. There's always been one lane of traffic, up or down, within a short period of time, because I'm the one who done it.
But still, you're talking about the emergency range.
That's what emergency road will never work. There's one thing on the north side of the highway there, there's about 50 some odd class 7 pylon that's drove into the mountain right there. There's a Geiger counter on it that tells if it's ever moves. I don't know if that's still in operation or not. So that's one issue. That's why that was put in there, because the mountain was sliding.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't go in there and dig more and come out with somebody down here. I have got a record of every wreck that's been on that mountain. And the one time that it was shut down was because of the evacuation of the propane tank. And the chemical hazard in 2019 was a cargo trailer going to Eastman Kodak. It turned over in the curve on the north side of the road. That's what that was. The lane was always, there's always been one lane up or one lane down, or sometimes both. Never, ever, ever, except for that one time, been shut down completely.
Well, see, that's what I'm getting at is, you know about the pilings.
Huh?
You know about the pilings that's been driven.
Oh yeah, I was there.
Okay, and again, what I'm saying is if they put that emergency lane in, for traffic. And with the Wetwater Springs all up and down that hill,
And I'm sure Ben is too, the bypass is, one of these days we'll have it. And they always come to me and ask me, and probably asked Robert, and they've asked my boss, Bruce Street, and they've asked Dan Flyers, which was from Batesville, that used to be the head of the highway department, why can't we come straight off the hill? Well, I'm gonna give you a little information on that. First of all, you have to dig down 30 feet at the stoplight at the top of the hill. And you tie into the first part of the White River Bridge. It's more than an 8% grade. And so what would you do with the businesses at the top of the hill? They'd be up here, the road would be down here. So that ain't gonna work. And the pylons and the road mounting, sliding and cutting all that out, that's not gonna work. I've built too many roads and been on too many slides to know.
thank you.
Okay, you know, I think we've gone about as long as we can. Okay, I want to
Sorry,
thank
Pat,
both.
it's that.
Yeah, it's past my bedtime. Okay, I want to thank both of you. I think you both did a wonderful job, and let's give them a big